What's up YouTube, Sean Forney here. It's been a little while since I've done an update on my FD, but that was for good reason. For those of you that have watched my videos, you can go through and see some of the work that's needed to be done. I had this weird, almost like a tapping sound, only at certain RPMs. We thought it was a lifter. We pulled the heads, found a lifter with a retaining clip dislodged from the head of the lifter. Thought that could be making the noise. Put new lifters in it, got it back together, was so excited, started it up, and the noise was still there. So we, I don't know, kind of upset about the whole thing, spent a ton of time on it, trying to identify the problem. It was a 416 LS3 stroker motor, and it was freshly, well, it only had 3,000 miles on the build. So I got a magnetic oil plug and decided to go ahead and throw it on there, see if there was any metal in the oil. Well, after 100 miles, I changed the oil and it looked like a freaking shiny Christmas tree on the end of it. So, truth be told, we immediately pulled the engine, and that was back in February. So this has been a long time coming, 6 months. Well, I finally got the chassis back. So I figured at that point, it's a 1994 low mileage chassis, 84,000 original miles on the chassis, clean. The car had some dings and things like that in it, but I figured since the engine's out, you're not gonna have a better time just to go ahead and restore the car completely. So I've been on the hunt for a perfect chassis, and I figured there's no better time, no better car than this one. It's the perfect blank canvas that I needed to get started. So I did a glass out, total repaint, took hundreds of hours. It had lots of little dings in the car, wanted to get it sorted. Got the engine right there on the stand. So this is an update video of where we stand. I am very, very optimistically thinking that I will have this car back together and up and running in the next couple weeks. So we do believe, I think the engine builder said it had to be tune related. So obviously the car is going to need to immediately get tuned, but stay tuned. I'll go over everything that we've done to the car and show you what's in store on this RX7 build. So here the chassis is. Again, 84,000 original mile. So it's a low mileage, wasn't super abused, was a Southern car in factory vintage red. These wheels are garbage, by the way. They will not be staying on the car. This is one of those urethane bumpers. I have the hood prop, so it's hard to see fitment, but gave it to the body guy. I love the JDM bumpers, but I'm not a big fan of the front license plate that's molded into the bumper. In West Virginia, we don't need them. I think it looks clean without it. So I got this bumper. It needed a ton of work to get it to fit properly. There's still a decent gap around the headlight covers, but hood, factory seal, that lines up well. JDM lights, JDM lip, everything else looks pretty good. You can see some fingerprints on it, but the car needs to get ceramic coated. Gosh, the way the lighting looks in the camera looks like that headlight's a different color, but I can assure you it's not. But overall, glass out, figured might as well restore the car. I painted the lip, side skirts, rear duckbill style spoiler, all in matte black. And there's a whole hodgepodge of a mess in here. I did not want to have to vacuum out the AC. So we left everything attached, put it to the side. He wrapped it up, repainted the engine bay in the original matte-ish or satin finish, vintage red. So all of that has been redone. Repainted this to match OEM. Did door jambs. Lined up the doors because they were weak. The hinge was a little weak. Went ahead and shaved the what am I thinking? The rear wiper motor, the nozzle up there, that was shaved. It needed a little bit of body work in here, but he did a really, really good job at getting that done. So this is the car as it sits now. Of course, the no rotor license plate. I got new OEM black center Mazda badges, and then of course this is the X from the LSX, R7 factory, R and a 7, but this was the last remaining one known to exist, and I bugged the guy until he finally sold it to me. So I'm glad. I just think this is a nice touch to have the LSX X and the RX7 emblem. So now on to the good stuff. Again, if you're going to restore a car like this, you don't want these knockoff wheels on it. So we have the Volk TE37s that are going on it. And these are, it's a square setup. I'm going to run staggered tires, but they're the 18 by 9.5 45s TE37 Sagas, because I could not find the exact fitment that I wanted, and I didn't want to custom order them and wait. So I found what I could, and I'm using them. We went with a Cali's balanced rotating assembly, and the engine is slowly coming back together. We were able to reuse the BTR cam because it was in great shape. And the car is realistically going to be for maybe the occasional track day. But I wanted, here's the old crank. There's the scarring on the old crank. Cylinder number 1 rod bearing is what went. I think for those inquiring minds that wanted to know. And that was it. Other than that, that's the old Melling high pressure oil pump. But, well, we got a new one. Let's see. Head gaskets laying there. There's the old pistons, which will be for sale at some point. If not, they're going to get hung up on the wall somewhere. The car does have an Olin suspension, Brembo front brake kit. So the car is set up very, very well. So the car will get occasional track use, but not much. So drivability in mind, power steering, air conditioning. It has this stage 3 clutch in it, T56 Magnum transmission, but that flywheel, if you can see from here, it has some burning marks on it. So keeping drivability in mind, I went with an LS7 GM OEM clutch and flywheel kit, so it'll have a nice smooth engagement and drive perfectly fine, which is sitting in that box right there. It's a little bit of a mess. The shop will get all cleaned up after we're done this whole endeavor. So that is the progress update. So if you want to follow along this build, and I'm calling it kind of like a restoration because it essentially is. So the only thing that I have left to do to this car to make it where I want, as you can see, it has tan carpet. The seats are in great shape. I like these. They're the suede OEM. The plastics are in great shape for the most part. It's missing that matte pocket. I do have it. So the car is pretty much a restoration at this point. The underneath of the car looks solid. The chassis has been redone. So realistically, the only thing that's left that I want to do to the car, aesthetically wise, will be to replace that tan carpet with black. Other than that, I'm pretty much set with the car. The only thing I may do in the future is do the Ford 8.8 rear. This has a Kaz 1.5 way rear diff, which is fine. It's going to be about 550 horsepower to the wheels. It should hold just fine without any issues. So everybody, if you want to follow along this car, it has been a long time coming. And I'm very excited to get this thing out in the sunlight, getting it driving again under its own power. This is the first kind of whole strip down that I've actually been involved with myself. Usually I'll send it off. We couldn't find anybody that actually could get it done in a reasonable amount of time. So I called a buddy that's like the LS3 or LS Whisperer is what I like to call him. And he said, well, I'm willing to help as long as you're willing to help. So with his guidance and You know, he's so smart. He remembers all the torque specifications just by memory. So I was glad to be able to partake in this. That way, you know, it's built, not bought type of mentality. Have a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in this thing. And I'm really excited to get this thing up, going. It will be super reliable. It'll have air conditioning. I may add cruise control, but I really won't probably use it that much in this car. So that realistically will be the only thing that it won't have, will be cruise control. But it'll have power steering, heat, air conditioning. It'll be nice and smooth. It has the Holley, ECU and tune and all that good stuff. So if you want to continue to follow along, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. I'll be doing more videos as we progress in the build over the next 2 weeks. I have a little bit of a downtime right now when I'm not coaching one of my 4 kids or 3 of my 4 kids in sports. I'm in between sports right now. Softball ended, soccer's about to start. So we're hoping I can get this thing done by the end of August, so I can still have 2 months to take it to Cars and Coffees and things like that, and mix and match between the Supra and the FD. So hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. If you have any questions or comments or want to know something about this particular build, feel free to drop a comment below and I'll be sure to answer it as soon as I can. So thank you all so much for watching, and stay tuned for this build and the progress.